Before we dive into my assessment of Dreamfall Chapters Book 2, I just want to place a link for my review of Book 1, which I did over at dealspone.com. You can find it in the description box below or on the screen right now, so if you've yet to catch up, give that a watch and then come back and watch this one. Anyway, it's time for us to crack on with my review of Book 2, which I will try to do in as spoiler-free a manner as humanly possible. So yeah, wow, I was not expecting that much content. You see, my personal runtime for Book 2 came in at about just over 7 hours, and when combined with the 4 hours I spent with Book 1, that makes the current available content of Dreamfall Chapters longer than most entire seasons of episodic games. And we still have 3 installments to go. Of course, all that time spent in-game means nothing unless the experience is any good, and while it's quite clear that the increased size and scope of Book 2 has made it a fairly buggy affair at launch, the end result is an engrossing, engaging and entertaining second installment. Now, if Book 1 was the orientation for the series, Book 2 takes off the training aids and then gleefully throws the player into the deep end. Both the narrative and the puzzle-based gameplay take a significant leap in scope this time around, as Zoe continues to unravel the mysteries of her past alongside the political intrigue in Propast, while Kian begins finally shaping the fates of those around him in Marcuria. With several new characters making their debut, some of which have become fan favourites within hours of release, and yes, I'm looking at you, Inu, Book 2 makes it very clear that you won't be able to please everyone, and that your actions will come back to haunt you in fairly significant ways. In fact, the latter point was made a little too clear thanks to prompts that were broadcast during conversations. Being reminded near the start of the chapter was a nice touch, but the repetitious use of "your previous actions have caused consequences" and its variants throughout the game was slightly overdone, and my immersion levels suffered as a result. That said, the cause and effect of those choices throughout Book 2, along with the decisions made in Book 1, are executed in fine fashion. It's a topic I mentioned back in the Book 1 review, but the divergence of possible paths in Dreamfall Chapters continues to be seriously impressive. While the Propast district of Europolis returns and takes oppressive tactics to the next level, Book 2 focuses more on Marcuria and its struggles against the Azadi occupation. As a huge fan of the series, wandering around the town and revisiting familiar locations from the longest journey in Dreamfall was a personal highlight. Seeing the docks, the iconic tower right above me, and a certain somebody's tree stump brought a smile to my face as I toured the town that, much like with Propast, felt alive. Tourist maps dotted around ensured that I wasn't lost for long, which, considering the amount of time I've spent running around solving puzzles, ended up being something of a godsend. For the most part, the puzzles remain a fairly straightforward affair, though there were a couple of situations where I was running around for ages looking for clues, when the answer was right in front of me all along. It wasn't that the puzzles were particularly fiendish or even obscure, but more that the jump between straightforward and lateral thinking caught me off guard. Likewise, Marcuria plays host to a few puzzles that made good use of characters and player consequences, which is something I actually hope the developers continue to explore in later episodes. With the scale of Book 2 trumping that of Book 1, it should come as no surprise that some bugs crept into the release build, but while those are thankfully all cosmetic in nature, they are fairly noticeable. In particular, the audio suffered from incorrect volume levels, and some music cues would restart abruptly instead of continuing or fading out. There were even a few instances of character models going full Exorcist, spinning around like they were something possessed. Hopefully by the time that you watch this video, these issues will have been patched, or at least be on the way to being patched. But I do think it is a reflection on both the size of the game and the team that's building it, as well as their determination to deliver something different and complicated overall. Despite those issues, though, Book 2 manages to take the moral choices and really amps up the difficulty this time around, if it wasn't set that high already. I stared at the screen agonising over some of the decisions at several points, kicking myself afterwards in a few of the cases. If anything, these moments perfectly display the effectiveness of the writing, with both personal and wider moral decisions presented before the player. In my opinion, Book 2 contains some of the best examples of this that we've seen from the genre in recent times, and raises the bar for follow-up episodes from other episodic titles. I just hope that the quality level of these moments remains high moving forward. Oh, and a little bit more Chromance wouldn't go amiss either. In short, despite some technical gremlins causing cosmetic issues throughout the game at launch, Book 2 Rebels successfully builds upon Book 1's excellent start. More agonising moral choices lie in wait on the streets of Propast and Marcuria, as Red Thread Games deliver another well-written and entertaining instalment of Dreamfall Chapters.